Hey guys, I'm going to change my business, and that's quite scary for some reason. I've been very well known being a 3D Vista expert over the last 5 years or so, and for good reason, because I've been sharing a lot of tutorials online with like the whole community. However, with some things going on with like the team at 3D Vista and all that kind of stuff, that made me realize that this is not it. This is not where I need to be. This is not where I need to move on to. I cannot keep promoting software that is proprietary and having some very expensive cloud services and all these type of things. I don't like that. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, and actually I really have a problem with a lot of cloud providers actually. There's a lot of software out there nowadays that we people all massively use that is not really helping you as the person that much. How do I say? We people get tricked very easily into things, right? Like take for example Matterport, right? Matterport, a lot of people in this video know you create virtual tours with it, but everything that you create with Matterport gets owned by Matterport. So they get like a license to resell your own data that you've been creating, and on top of that you're paying for it. So you're paying Matterport in order to make them more rich in some way, right? Like it's not helping you as the individual creator to create things, and that's one of the reasons I've been very much enjoying 3D Vista. But 3D Vista has been going the same road, and that's where I see like, or where I've been trapped as well in some way, or you know, like I've been helping like the whole community in 3D Vista and providing solutions and troubleshooting a lot of things and all that kind of stuff. But then a lot of people, they don't know how to self-host something, so they go for 3D Vista hosting and they pay like €100 for 3 gigabytes of bandwidth on a day. Like what the well, that's 3 gigabytes, it's nothing. And you get like, what, a few gigabytes of storage, that's... And just the whole pricing of it is just unreasonable. And it's not only the 3D Vista Cloud, it's also the nodes, it's also the turn service with the live guided tours, and not just like the things that they're selling, also like their whole attitude towards like helping people and all that kind of stuff. I've been starting to, you know, take over like all these kind of questions in some way, trying to help a lot of people, and hoping that people book some hours with me and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't add up anymore to me. Now, what I've been doing like the last like 3 years ago or so is like a lot of stuff into. I went into Webflow, I went into Airtable and Zapier and Make and all these type of things because they were like no-code tools, meaning tools that help non-technical people do technical stuff. Basically that. And what I noticed is, well, at some point I got trapped into those tools as well, and prices were going up, or a company was being purchased and things got worse and all that kind of stuff, and then you're like at the mercy of this kind of cloud providers feet, while you're supposed to be the client. And from what I remember from my childhood, we said in the Netherlands the client is king, but that's not the case anymore. Right now, clients are more like slaves instead of kings, and that's something that I feel a lot of frustration with. And that's not only with 3D Vista, that's not only with Matterport, that's not only with Webflow or Airtable. That's also with Google. We're all using Google, and right now this video is going to be in YouTube, which is owned by Google. I know, but I still need to find some ways to get this message out there. But you know, there are ways to get rid of things that we're all massively using Google. For example, a lot of people, like there's 1 billion of people that are using Google Photos. meaning that they take a picture and it gets uploaded to Google Photos and it gets analyzed, and the AI is getting over that kind of stuff. They're analyzing your face, your emotion, where you are, your location, with who you are, all that kind of stuff. And all this data is all being processed, and God knows what happens with that data. And knowing Google, they're reselling, all this kind of data that they can abstract from the photos that you're taking, the photos you're taking, the videos you're recording, the screenshots you're taking every time on your phone. Whatever is being synced with it is being analyzed on Google servers. And is that really helping people? I don't know. I don't think so. And but why are we massively using those type of services? Because it's free, because it's installed by default on your devices, and so you kind of just get on with what you know. But isn't there a way to have those photos, for example, and these videos and screenshots that you're taking onto something of your own, like your own server? And the same thing applies to basically almost every software that we're using nowadays. Like, what happens with the data? Is this what happens with the data? Is that really for the user, for you using it, or is it for the company that's selling the tool, or providing it? And a lot of times, the more bigger the company, the more arrogance comes into the company, the less help you get, like being a user or a client. Like, it's kind of like an I don't care attitude anymore. If there's some struggle, some problem, if you're using things like AWS, you can get surprise bills of $100,000, and what are you gonna do then? You're bankrupt. It's just that there's less care of the bigger companies in order to like make things for you being user. And so there needs to change quite a lot of things here, to my opinion, in order to create like a kind of world that we really want to live in as a society. A kind of world where you use software, and the software is there for you instead of for the software creator himself. And so what's the way here to do this kind of stuff? Well, it's, I think, one of the first steps for every company and even every individual is to realize what is your digital infrastructure, meaning which tools do you use like a lot, right? And to make some sort of map, some sort of overview of like, hey, these are like the tools that I'm having. Okay, do I like all these tools, right? Are all these tools in somebody else's cloud, and when a price increase happens, I just need to pay more? Or when the privacy policy changes, I just need to accept that the AI is going to read everything that I'm doing and can exactly recreate what I've been creating, and providing that willingness to Adobe, because I need to just continue with my Adobe project right now today, so I just hit accept. Those are kind of the questions, and that's also where a lot of my kind of like frustrations come from. I've seen over the last couple of years more and more that a lot of software is kind of just pushing people into accepting new terms of policies, new privacy policies, price increases, more limitations in the software, whatever, all these type of things. And the only thing you can do is either accept or delete the account. And once you've already invested your energy into it, the chances are not that high that you're gonna delete your account. And they know that. And that's why it's a trap, and that's why it's called vendor lockin. And that's why things just keep going as they keep going, and things get worse and worse and worse over time. But I strongly believe that there's a way out here. And that has to be doing with open source software that can be self-hosted on your own server. The moment you self-host something on your server, on your hardware, like you have your own hard drive, and you know that the data is on there, there's not that much that can I mean, still there comes certain things with that too, but there's not that much that can happen that a company just comes to you and say, well, are you gonna accept my new privacy policy or price increase or not? It's like, no, because I already have my data here and I use an older version of what you've been providing me at a certain point, and I'm not going to upgrade it. I'm not going to go along with what you're suggesting me here. And so the point here is that a company cannot force their kind of will upon users that easily anymore when companies allow the option to self-host things. So yeah, that's something that I've been very busy with and understanding like how that works, because self-hosting and open source software and Linux stuff and getting into the terminal and all that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, all right, isn't this just meant for developers? Yes, it has been quite a lot. The good news is it becomes easier nowadays. There are ways to get these things now relatively more easy as in like as people know, they have like an app store and they click download and that's it, right? Like, and they hit maybe update in the app store and that's it. With open source self-hostable software, it's usually a little bit more complicated than that, but at the same time there are ways to get that going as well and to get to the level of an app store easiness with all the nice benefits that come with open source software. Yeah. So, owning your data, that's one thing, right? Like, if there are ways to find like open source alternatives to popular tools, so for example, when you use Zapier or Make, then you want to get into N8N. If you use Google Drive, you want to get into Nextcloud. If you use 3D Vista Notes in the 3D Vista Cloud, you want to talk to me. If you use like virtual tour hosting on AWS, Google Cloud, or the 3D Vista Cloud, you want to put that on Hetzner instead. If you create virtual tours in Matterport, Kula, or Cloud Panel, you still want to create these things in 3D Vista, because there are really nice things about 3D Vista. VT Pro, like that software, not the 3D Vista Cloud, but 3D Vista VT Pro, yes. 3D Vista Cloud, no. If you want to have self-hosted team chat, like something like Slack or Google Chat, you can use Mattermost for that. If you want to have a community running because you create a lot of content, or you want to have your clients talking with each other in some sort of community kind of thing, you don't want to do this in a Facebook group, YouTube community, because those things are definitely like owned by bigger companies, and they are going to tell you what you can think or what you cannot think. Because if they, for whatever reason, think that Linux is a threat to people because of cybersecurity kind of things, really, Facebook is censoring people that are talking about Linux on Facebook. Yes, this kind of censorship happens, and this kind of stuff you don't want in your own community. So you want to be able to talk about the things that you want to be talking about, so you need to find something else. I've been looking into Circle, but then you pay like $100 every month to have some community that looks nice. Or the Huddle, or Discourse being open source, but still Discourse I found a little not so nice looking. Eventually I found Fluent Community, which is looking very much like Circle, but it's a one-time fee and allows a lot of things. If you want to have dynamic CMS content, like Webflow, you can use Web Studio. If you want to have your databases and you want to get a little bit into that and have a central place for your information instead of all these spreadsheets that you're copy-pasting, all this kind of stuff, you might get into Airtable, but better to go for a base row there. If you wanna do video calls online, you can use Zoom or you can use Google Meet, but again, it's not yours, and they might be recording things, analyzing things about you, all that kind of stuff. So better to go for Jitsi there. If you want to edit your images, instead of using Adobe Photoshop, which is just basically a being very creepy with their AI, analyzing your creations and all that kind of stuff. And later on, when somebody asks to create something similar to what Ronald van der Weyden has been created, then the AI can do that because I've been giving that to the AI. I've been teaching the AI. Yeah, so I'm giving all my competitors this kind of advantages. Crazy. So then you want to use Affinity Photo, which is a one-time fee to do this kind of stuff. This one is not being open source, but it's a one-time fee, so it's still good, right? So this is kind of like the way I'm thinking. Not everything necessarily needs to be open source, but you need to have a certain amount of ownership over your data, and trusting companies that are trusting companies that are selling with trust. And what I mean with trusting companies that are selling with trust is like open source companies were providing a cloud environment, for people that don't want to get into self-hosting. I think are really good companies to have a cloud subscription with. Why? Because they have enough trust that if it's too expensive or they're being too much of a pain in the then people know that people are gonna get into self-hosting at that point. And so they need to be nicer to people all the time. And usually open source companies providing a cloud environment are much cheaper than their proprietary competitors that are having much higher prices. So when you look into password managers, for example, you can do one password. You can also go for Bitwarden. And right now I'm still using one password, but I'm really looking into like Bitwarden and making that like my thing there. Why? Because I think Bitwarden is more of like their philosophy is much better in place with putting these things open source. I'm willing to put it out there. So all of this is kind of like a journey into getting your digital infrastructure as much as in place and as much as self-hosted as possible, so that you have as much as possible data ownership without people spying onto your stuff, that things when you want to scale, that you can scale those things much bigger for much better pricing than when you would do the same thing with the proprietary competitors. So in the end, like I see like a lot of possibilities in all these open source alternatives to proprietary popular software. The only thing for most people is, I think, just like me, you might get struggling with like open source stuff. Like, how do you actually get all these Docker stuff things up and running? How do you update the software? How do you make sure that, okay, I really have everything under control and I understand like the backups, how to do something like that and set up a restore, and there comes some stuff with that. But that's the kind of part where, I've been learning this stuff all because I felt that I need this for myself. And I believe that there's a lot of people here that are looking for something similar, that they're like, yes, I get it. I get why open source and self-hosting is very important. And I see all the benefits of it, but I just don't know yet how to completely do all this kind of stuff. And so for that, I would really like to start offering my services in that. So migration services. That's what I want to be known for. I want to make people understand that you can migrate from one tool to another. You can understand these open source tools much better. That. So yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm leaving FreeVista behind here, which I've been building up my business on and which I've been making my money with. I'm gonna be focusing on migration services. That might still include some FreeVista stuff, right? Like migrating from the FreeVista cloud into your self-hosted cloud and all that kind of stuff, yes. But it's not going to be like me explaining how FreeVista works or how to make the most out of it or answering people's questions in the software, all these things. That's ending. That's now in the past. And it's just a little uncomfortable in some way, like, okay, going to make this kind of change. I'm very curious about how this journey is going to be looking like. It's Monday 10th of February 2211 right now, let's go. what I would like to end with is like this is kind of the world that I want to be living in. I want to be living in a world where people own their stuff and have their things in place. So there's not like all this slavery in place. Like people are back into their own place. And I think that's going to help a lot into creating a nicer world. Yeah. So thank you for watching, and have a great day, a great week, and great life. All right.